So this movie did not age well for me, y'all. Yes, The Devil's Advocate did not age well. I was not finding myself enjoying it as I would back when I was a teenager. There is no subtlety in this movie whatsoever. You would think with the title of the movie and what's supposed to happen with the characters that the big reveal in the end would have been that, oh my God, Al Pacino has been the devil this whole time, but there is absolutely no subtlety leading up to that, and it feels like we are coasting our way through this movie up until we get to what we came here to see, Al Pacino's big mega speech in the end. Oh, what a speech it is! But it is not enough to coast us through a 2.5-hour movie. Oh, I'm so disappointed. I can't stay. Hi you guys, welcome back to my channel. It's Tyra here with another struggle review, here to discuss The Devil's Advocate. Now this movie is from 1997 and it stars Keanu Reeves and Al Pacino. Now before I get into things that I love about this movie and other things not so much, I need you guys to drop down and subscribe to my channel and like this video. I'm going to give you guys a moment to do that, then we're going to come back and discuss. One thing you can never take away from this movie is Al Pacino's performance as Milton. It is absolutely one of his best, that over-the-top Al Pacino goodness. And that's saying a whole lot, with my favorites being Carlito's Way, Heat, Chi-Chi Get the Yayo. This is a standout performance from him.
Go back.
Now that you guys have hopefully subscribed to see more of me, let's get into this movie. But before we jump into the video, I have to give a shout out to the person who paid for and requested it. So if you happen to roll up and find out that your father has been Satan himself this entire time, it's not because of me. It's because of this person right here. Thank you so much for supporting me and paying for this content. Now this movie was directed by Taylor Hackford, who is mostly known for directing really good movies like An Officer and a Gentleman, Dolores Claiborne, directing and producing Blood In and Blood Out, as well as directing, producing, and writing Ray. While the screenplay is based on a book of the same name by Andrew Neiderman. Now, in taking my notes for this film, I felt completely validated after watching it with my feelings and knowing that Al Pacino rejected this role over 3 times, feeling like they could give it to somebody else, give it to Sean Connery, give it to Robert Redford, anybody but me. Someone else may be able to do this role justice. He felt like it was very shallow, very cliche, and Milton didn't really have a lot to offer as a character, and I can totally see that. But after a few rewrites and Keanu Reeves at the time wanting desperately not to act in another action movie to push himself, and probably even more wanting to act against the likes of an Al Pacino, agreeing to take a much smaller salary to meet Al Pacino's salary demands just so he would take the role. Now, all of those things collectively don't really feel like, oh, we have a hit on our hands. More so that we have a good devil on our hands. We have Al Pacino on our hands, especially when this movie was in limbo for a little bit with Brad Pitt in the works to portray Kevin Lomax. But at the time, they just couldn't find anyone good enough to portray the devil. Now, getting into this movie and the themes overall, there was definitely a whole lot here to work with to make a really good movie, but it just wasn't executed in the best way. Not on the actor's part, but more so who wrote this script. Or just maybe the book wasn't all that great to begin with. I'm not sure. I have not read it. But we open the movie with the most obvious display of a child predator that I have ever seen. Just all of this disgusting guilt oozing out of his pores. But unlike the rest of the movie, I really like the fact that this is here and just how overt and intentional it is. Like, dude, you know we can see you, right? Heavily displaying and enforcing what he did to his victim for everybody in the courtroom to see, especially his lawyer, Kevin Lomax, who's completely disgusted and is now very, very aware that his client is very guilty. Mr. Geddes has absolutely no remorse and no shame for what he did to his student, Barbara. But is he vile enough to be dropped as a client and have lawyer Kevin Lomax lose his very first case, period? The antagonizing reporter Larry definitely doesn't think so. Now, what I love most about this portion of the movie is just the idea that we are in this lawyer courtroom based setting for this supernatural horror type of movie. It lends itself really well to the scary things that take place in your average everyday courtroom. The fact that the O.J. Simpson trial was the go-ahead and the push for the makers to feel like they really needed to get this movie made. Not for all, but for most lawyers, it's not at all about integrity, honesty, principle, morals, and most definitely not the truth, but who you were hired to defend. It's not always about who is and isn't on the right side of the law, but often manipulation, deceit, slander, malicious intent, not at all black and white in who really has the evidence, but who really has the most power, the most persuasion, and the most money, which makes it the perfect playground for demonic, deceptive entities. Everything is definitely black and white for Kevin, who just solely desires to win, keeping up his winning streak, even if it rips little girls and victims like Barbara to shreds or sets a predatory teacher like Getty back out on the streets to prey on more children. Kevin is a shark that seems to go out of his way to not have a conscience. And just what the high-powered New York Milton firm seems to be looking for, selling Kevin as well as his wife Marianne on everything that they could ever want. As down South Floridians, why wouldn't we take this opportunity? An opportunity to win even more cases. I love the themes of temptation in this movie. The way the movie worked in those 7 deadly sins as to how they even arrived there, that allure, and really catering to their downfall later was really executed well. With both Kevin and Marianne, there's that strong representation of pride. Kevin's pride will not allow him to lose a case. Along with the pride he takes in those cases, there is strong gluttony. You know what? Maybe I'll go over there and check on Marianne's ass after this one case. I need to win this one case, just one more. I just need one more, and one more eventually becomes another. Nothing is ever enough. And then there's the lust, honey. We don't even touch down good enough for 5 minutes before we are lusting after another woman in the workplace. There's the greed between him and Marianne. Oh, think of all the money and all the things we could ever have once we go to New York and start making all of this money. Then there's that envy. We are looking all up and down at Milton, everything that he possesses. I want to be like that too. And then we have that strong wrath that comes towards the end of the movie in the sloth. A lot of the sloth is really heavy on Marianne's part, not only in the sense of laziness, having nothing to do, having those idle hands and that idle mind. The other meaning of sloth just being love deficient. It heavily starts to affect Marianne once Kevin is no longer by her side, giving her that constant love and affection damn near 24/7. I love Charlize Theron in this role. This is pretty much one of her first. She is so good here. Like, you just see so much potential of what was to come. I hate the fact that, well, not really, because, you know, Showgirls was Showgirls in, but she turned down Showgirls because she felt like there was this unnecessary excess nudity and took this part instead. Me watching this, you know, way back when on TNT and TBS, certain things were cut out. Watching this probably for the first time, real live, full and in living color, there is so much nudity, like full frontal nudity with the women. Like I was like, oh my goodness, if I see one more pubic hair, it was so much. It was so much, but I just did not see the ladder for, you know, I'm choosing this and not that because of the nudity. This was definitely a situation where a lot of the nudity, we didn't necessarily need it. And then you have Keanu really trying to push himself. Will we have Charlize, her southern accent? I think it was on point. I think it was on point and up to par. Then you get into Keanu, child. It kind of comes and goes. Just like with Bram Stoker's Dracula, he is picking and choosing when he wants to be from the South. But I do feel like this is one of his better roles where he really took the time to push himself beyond his comfort level of just really being in his pocket with action movies. And lastly, before we get into all things big city and Al Pacino, we also have Kevin's mother, who is a devoted Christian, you know, Sunday school, church Bible, who thinks that it's outright a bad idea for him to go there. And if you ever felt like Kevin was doing the absolute most with Marianne before they got to New York by constantly trying to ravage her, kissing her, biting her, sucking her ears, sucking her neck, biting her ass, like he is constantly all over her. I always thought it was just to show the tonal shift in their relationship once they got to New York and he found his interest elsewhere. But it was also to show just how high of a sexual appetite that Kevin had, just full of lust. Once Kevin easily shows his weight in gold and his discernment to select the proper jury, this leads him to the office that I swear that just looks demonic right off the back. We have all these hard edges, these strong, high cemented walls. The architecture just looked downright evil. And then you have Christabella over there being the temptress that she is, catching his eye in that red suit. She is always wearing red throughout the whole movie. And of course, we finally meet Milton. Now, my top depictions of the devil are easily Tim Curry in Legend, Robert De Niro in Angel Heart, Clarence Williams III in Tales from the Hood, and down bad Al Pacino as Milton here. Even though there is absolutely nothing subtle about it in this movie, just think about what this movie could have been if they wouldn't have did that to the damn poster. If they wouldn't have given away a lot of the plot just in the trailer, if we had no idea who the devil actually was and it was really this big aha moment, this would have been something incredible. But the fact that they didn't go that route, I feel like that's why we changed the ending and we didn't stick to what was in the book. I'm not sure what's in the book, but Milton being Kevin's father and the whole situation of the Antichrist, the old man Rosemary's Baby driven type of plot is not in the book. I felt like they replaced it to maybe get a little aha rise out of the audience there, like, oh, this has been the agenda this entire time. But it wasn't. It wasn't. We really needed that pungent aha to be the fact that, oh my goodness, he has been consulting with the devil this whole time, and it is just not that. And Milton having all of these constant innuendos within the script does not help either. You know, we lure you in, we kill him with kindness, you never see us coming, like, oh, okay. You know, I'm the surprise, I'm the hand up Mona Lisa's skirt. Even though we love the delivery from Al Pacino, who's not gonna love that? It's just really like, let's just get to the part where you tell us who you are. I just wish that they would have dug more into the non-stereotypical devil that we have here. So many depictions of, you know, demons, devils, Satan. It's as if he is going to show up and flat out divulge who he is with red skin, a pitchfork, a long tail, and horns. No, if I'm the devil, I'm never going to be that obvious. I'm going to creep up and be the person or the thing that you least expect. This movie could have had that going for it, but we knew exactly who Milton was from the moment that we met him. But hey, this is the devil's advocate. I never knew the devil needed a damn advocate. It seems like he does enough damage all on his own. I already stated I felt like this movie was too long. We do spend a lot of time with scenes that become a little repetitive of Milton just reading Kevin's temperature to see if he has what it takes to want to be the advocate. Stating the obvious, not being at all subtle, and not really moving the plot along. The moment we meet Milton, he is flat out asking Kevin about his mother, the history. Oh, it must have been hard. You know, where's your like, it was just so freaking on the nose that we could see it coming. You used to be a prosecutor, putting the bad guys away. You know, now you're in the courtroom, setting them free. You know, how do you deal with that? Where's your comfort level? Like, oh, you know, it's okay. You know, it takes some getting adjusted to, like, oh, but the money's better, right? Like the money, like, oh, it's it's like right up there with him going moo ha ha ha, dead ass in Kevin's face. But I do, however, really like the idea of Kevin being so cocky that he feels like he has won 65 cases straight on his own merit because he is just that good. That is so astronomical. Like, I don't know the number on that, but who the hell is winning 65 cases straight? Absolutely no losses, because I'm Kevin and I'm just that good. Vanity, definitely my favorite sin. Even though we depict Kevin to be so good and so smart, we also make a point to depict him, as well as Marianne, as being simple sheep, hopelessly naive, blinded by what they want. Especially Marianne, we are paying no attention to the fact that not only do you work with these people 24/7 in this firm, but you also live in this high-rise luxury apartment building, all of you underneath Milton. Like, it's all just a little too close for comfort, but just close enough for them to control your life, watch your every move, as well as destroy Marianne. Now, as Kevin gets further and further into being a defense attorney, he gets further away from Marianne and the goals that they set out, arriving there, not only still doing things together and being by each other's side, but also having a baby. Now, though there is a whole lot I don't like about this movie, especially when we get into the demonic faces, the makeup here is done by Rick Baker, who has never met a makeup brush or a prop or anything that he did not like. But I feel like with this being 97 and them trying to introduce CGI into some of these things, like the mask, and trying to, you know, move them around, and it just didn't age well. It did not age well at all, and it did not, you know, do anything. I don't remember it doing anything for me back then. I just always thought it was a little like, oh, that was a choice. That was something that probably should have been left alone. I think if they wouldn't have incorporated the CGI effects and really stayed so much on the practical side. This is Rick Baker. Like, Rick Baker is freaking amazing. So the fact that the effects weren't amazing means that we messed up somewhere. But what I do like here is the idea of free will. They never make Kevin do any damn thing. Everything he does is completely on his own. His little moral compass is absolutely broken. Every case that he gets, from the predatory teacher in the beginning, the voodoo practitioner here portrayed by Gilroy putting those nails into that tongue to make sure the defense attorney on the opposing side couldn't actually speak, to Coach towards the end, who is just going to forever be Coach, being a murderer who killed his own family and was doing what he was doing with his stepdaughter. Everybody is on the spectrum of evil. Everybody is malicious and has all of this nefarious intent. But he is well aware of this, but keeps going because he just desires to win. Repeatedly acting oblivious to the people that he is defending, as well as the kind of law firm that he is working for. Meanwhile, Marianne, who is just the epitome of a sacrificial lamb, is mentally chopped away at slowly, to the point that she starts to yearn for and later appreciate what they used to have when he was attentive, when he was loving, and didn't have so much money. Yes, I have and gained everything, but I also gained these demonic looking females who are chipping away at my self-esteem, as well as trying to get me to indulge in this excess that I just don't really value anymore. Then you have Milton's ass over there. I felt like when we got into Marianne's character, or just the dynamics that she had with Kevin, it was the better part of the movie, because we flip and get into Milton and he is just, being a little divisive, that ultimate devil on the shoulder, stating the obvious when he is not, having his way, doing whatever he wants to do, showing that he is well versed. I speak all languages, just like Christabella conveniently in the office. I also, I'm underground. I love to take the subway. I like to be down. Okay, get on down there. Just get your ass on down there. Get on down there where you belong. Now, I also had to tone it down when I was getting into Milton's effect on Marianne. I was like, okay, girl, I know you a lamb, but you have to at least make us work for, as an audience, put your hair up. You should really show and wear your natural hair color. We need to see those cheekbones and those shoulders. You should cut your hair. And of course, she just does this, as well as a lot of the other things. She is just kind of lured into doing things that she maybe wouldn't want to do otherwise. But I had to take a step back and realize that this is the way that it would logically go. We do see Milton multiple times in the movie have all of this sway over anybody he chooses to. He is supposed to be Satan. He is the devil. And especially when we get into the lustful side, the women, child, he can have it any way, in every way that he wants to. It was strictly with the likes of Kevin that he decided to give him free will to see if he could really have what it takes to be that devil's advocate. Whereas we have Marianne, she was mentally manipulated and played with and did not at all have any free will. But the movie does slow down for me midway, with not only us repeatedly trying to show just how persuasive and charismatic the likes of Milton is, like, oh, he is privy to information about individuals that nobody else in the world would know unless they were, supernatural. Like, oh, we get it. It really slows down for me when we focus so much on the Alex Cullen, aka Coach, high profile murder case, and then choose that moment to maybe still kind of display that there is some discernment going on with Kevin. He's still trying to be an honest, forthright attorney when we didn't even meet him as that. And it didn't take long before he got to New York, transforming outwardly, inwardly, keeping that distance from Marianne, walking the walk, talking the talk, and looking up to the likes of Milton. We spend way too much goddamn time on maybe Alex Cullen isn't guilty. Maybe now he's defending an honest man. Maybe he didn't kill his whole family and isn't running around doing gross, disgusting things with his 14-year-old stepdaughter. Like, it just didn't make any sense when we knew right off the bat that he was the culprit, was in fact evil like all the other ones, and did do these things. Kevin doesn't care. Kevin just wants to win to keep that record intact. Not only that, but we have things going on in the office that is just like, really? When we have Milton doing the power play, making him the lead attorney, trying to undercut somebody who has been there for quite some time, creating that rift, as well as the little relationship that he has with Christabella in the office that makes it obvious that they are sleeping together. Why would you want to sleep with her if she is clearly sleeping with the boss? Like, it was just and I can't connect any dots once this same man who clearly has a grudge against you as well as Milton for his job and his position, and just winds up being dead, beaten to death in a park. Or this reporter who was on this same attorney's side makes you well aware of all the nasty things that this law firm is into, as well as Milton. And as soon as you may be coming into the light over into the other side, he is instantly hit by a car. Milton sticking his finger in some holy water in a church, cool, but it doesn't do anything. It doesn't all of a sudden make the movie better. It didn't make any of us go, aha, oh my God, he's evil. We already knew he was evil the entire time. We already knew who he was. All it does is make us as an audience, people who love Al Pacino, like, oh my goodness, look at him hamming it up here. He is clearly having the time of his life with this role and just really coasting through. It's really aha. It's, it's a whole lot of that, a little tongue-in-cheek type stuff, like, We love that. But it doesn't automatically make this movie a masterpiece. Or the fact that we have Kevin's mother decide to come visit and she's acting a little wonky around Milton and she's instantly ready to go. And I'm going to say something but not really say what the big deal is and get my damn son and his wife out of here. I'm just going to leave and go back to the country. And behold, as I send you out as sheep amongst the wolves. Go, shut up, shut up. We could have been home, shut up. Those things, we already knew the whole situation. We shouldn't have figured out that Milton was his father before it was the time. It just 2 + 2 was not equaling 4 with this movie for me. The best thing I felt like this movie had going for it was the dynamic that Kevin had with Mary Ann and how he just literally left her to the wayside and just her descend into this crazed catatonic-like state. The fact that he never once believed her, never once really took out any time to, like, this was his wife. I had to go back and double check to see if they were married. I was like, was she just, some random girlfriend who went all the way up to New York? Like, no, this was your whole wife. He flat out never listens to her. He feels like she is crazy and feels like she is making these things up for attention when she is not inflicting all of this wear and tear and damage on her body herself. Like, it was just absolutely insane. And to me, just showed who he truly was all along. As I said, he always had free will and he chose to do these things to his own wife. I absolutely hated the scene where she is like half-assed out of her mind, even though we know from our POV that she is telling the truth and all the things that Milton is doing to her as well as all of the other people around her. But when she is pretty much gone and he tries to cure this and fix that, oh, you miss me, you want affection, and he decides to try and have sex with her, and she looks every bit of mentally sick and unstable as you could possibly be. Like, she just sat here and told you that they took her ovaries. Like, they took my ovaries. She has, that nightmare. I can no longer have children. In fact, I went to the doctor and he doesn't, do any due diligence to go beyond a certain point as to say, oh, I don't have time for this. This is going to take away from the case. I will deal with it when I get to it. Just how unconcerned he was for her, especially when she is naked in that freaking church. There are so many poses here that are very reminiscent of Christ on the cross. Like, that whole situation there where her body is just, it's clear that something happened to her and she was assaulted. Of course, she says it was Milton. I don't believe you. Milton was with me all day. This is sick. You're losing it. Like, I'm going to get you some help. And of course, at that point, he has her committed, but it's not just to get her some help. It's just because I don't want to deal with this at this particular time. I'm going to get to it when I get to it. And of course, it's always too late. You never cared about your wife, because if you did, you would have at some point put her health and her well-being first. I love when we have the little demonic face appear in the mirror, even though it's supposed to be a very serious scene. When we do have Mary Ann just get to the point of wanting those voices to stop in her head and she takes her own life. When we have the Pam from The Office just back up like moo hoo ha ha ha, what I came here to do was done, and you have Keanu, she's getting, oh Mary, what did you do? What just happened? What did you do? Like, it's a very serious scene, but it's like, do you not see that demonic ass female over there and what she's done, or what she's contributed to Mary Ann doing this to herself? Just, it was just like to the very last minute, like you had to have blood on top of your necktie and have your mother flat out say, I need to hear you say it. Like, no, you don't. No, you don't. If you don't remember anything about this movie, if you've only seen it once, you're gonna remember the monologue and Al Pacino's performance in the very last 10 minutes of this movie. As if I couldn't love Al Pacino's performance enough, and not even just, the constant yelling and yeah, like that. That's always there, but just his the subtlety in his facial expressions, the way that he lifts his eyebrows, just the physical acting with his body, the fact that we go from him being, you know, well dressed, very sharp, that slick back hair, and then when he presents himself this go round, the hair is disheveled, you know, he's very laxed, and we kind of get these deep sunken circles underneath his eyes. It's all, you know, very, very small little changes, but they make a world of difference as far as the Milton that we met and the Milton that we're getting now, even though we always knew who he was. Now, it absolutely takes me out every time when we have Kevin take his ass up there and try to shoot him, like still to the absolute ending, not really believing who he is. And, you know, Satan, like, you know, I have many names, but, you know, you can call me dad. Like, though those things are good and memorable, but like, sir, like, as I said, the idea of the Antichrist baby wanting that ancestral situation to happen, the sister coming in is like, oh, you've been like, that didn't do anything for me. Of course, the likes of Satan would want an ancestral type of baby. Of course, if I have my son and my daughter have a baby, the baby will be mostly like me and more so in my image, like fully sick. Yeah. But that didn't do anything for me. Like her walking around, you know, anybody want a drink? I'm gonna have a drink. Okay. Still trying to be lusty and persuasive at that moment and calm and coax Kevin into what they want him to do and his purpose for being there. All the history and the facts, you know, why the law? Like, I don't care about none of that. I don't care about any of that. The only thing that saves that scene is he's laughing his fucking head off. Like that's all it is. He's a sadist. Like, look, but don't touch, you know, touch, but don't taste, you know, all those good things. That's the only thing that saves that scene, you know. And while you're dancing, he's laughing his fucking head off. Worship that? Never. Like, that's what saves this whole damn movie, if you want to be honest. Kevin finally realizing that he had that free will this whole time. I didn't make you do anything just off the strength of me being Satan. You could have stopped this at any time. You could have lost one of those cases any time and made the right decision. You could have saved your wife at any given time, and you chose not to because of who you are. You know, lose. I don't lose. I win. Like, that's what saves this film. And Kevin, at that very moment, finally deciding to make a selfless choice, practicing that free will, taking himself out, no longer giving Satan the option that he wants for the Antichrist baby. And, you know, pinky in the brain, world domination. You will not be getting that from me. I am going to take myself out, starting over and getting a chance to do it right. That transition of Al Pacino becoming Keanu Reeves and then transitioning into the angel and descending up, and you kind of get that little imagery of that demonic face. Like, that is done really well. Like, I was like, y'all couldn't do nothing else right now. The Keanu angel yelling up going, oh, that wasn't good. That wasn't good. But the prosthetics used to have older Al Pacino transform into younger Al Pacino and transform into Keanu, really, really good stuff. Now, when we get into the ending, I really do actually love the ending. Getting back into that very first case and him deciding to make that right decision. And I'm not going to defend somebody that I know is guilty. And I'm also going to get my wife back. And he's just happy to be back into that space. And then you have that same old reporter Larry roll up, you know, with the gun and the wink, which I love. You know, the devil comes in all shapes, sizes, and forms. He was always here. And you, being Kevin, still having that free will that you always had, just might fall right back into his grips, getting into that vanity. Definitely my favorite sin, even though I'm doing a positive thing here with Larry going, you know, somebody needs to read this. You know, you're a star. You know, we want that vanity, that notoriety, getting back into those other sins. You know, call me in the morning, Larry, I'll be there. And of course, he transforms into who he always was, Milton. Really, really good stuff. Love, you know, ending with that Rolling Stones. I see your red door and I want to paint this black. We really gonna paint all the doors black. No color anymore. I want them to turn black. Bye, 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 bye. I see the girls walk by dressed in their summer clothes. It was slapping. It was slapping. The flames go up and the movie goes off. Even though I did not 100% have the best time ever watching this movie, I'm going to continue to take it for what it is and always find value in it the same way I found it this time. Well, you guys, that was my review for The Devil's Advocate. Please drop down and tell me what you thought about it. Did you, feel the same way I felt, or are you gonna cuss me out and go, Tyler, this is a masterpiece. How dare you not say that this movie is perfection? I completely understand. I look forward to reading you guys' comments. Thank you so much for watching. I will definitely be looking for you over at the After Party Live. I see you guys next time for my next review. Bye.
My